There is no cause for alarm. This is according to the Ministry of Health. This, of course, after the suspension of the PEPFAR program, an American program that supports the treatment and management of HIV in African countries. And of course, the former president of the Republic, Uhuru Kenyatta, has called on African governments to devise ways of supporting themselves after the development by the Trump administration. We have details lined up for you. Welcome to Prime Edition. Here are tonight's highlights.
We have sufficient stocks of HIV commodities. We have more than 6 months of stock.
Kenya says it has enough HIV and AIDS supplies buffer stocks to last country for 6 months in the wake of US government suspension of aid to key health programs.
Usitutishe ati rais a one-term president. Pia watu wengine wanatutisha huko jana.
DP Kithure Kindiki dismisses as cheap politics his predecessor's one-term president remarks. Kenya and Egypt signed 4 key strategic partnership agreements.
Who did it? But I suspect, because I heard they are saying that they will burn me to the ground, plus my children, because I'm not belonging to their family.
And 2 children die in Homa Bay after fire raises their house in suspected case of arson attack. Welcome to this broadcast. My name is John Jacob Kioria, and Wangeshi is a sign language interpreter. We welcome your feedback on all our sites. They're very much open for you, and we're live from there. You can catch us up on those social media platforms. We start tonight with the news that Kenya and Egypt have signed 4 key memoranda of understanding aimed at fostering strategic partnerships between the 2 nations. The agreements focus on critical areas such as maritime security, renewable energy, veterinary services, and electricity. During the first day of a 2-day state visit in Cairo, President William Ruto further called for collaboration in 12 other areas, including security, investment, youth empowerment, gender equality and higher education, as well as urban development for progress and stability.
During the signing of the MOUs, President William Ruto emphasized the importance of this partnership in addressing mutual challenges, particularly in trade and security.
These agreements will strengthen trade, investment, education, and technological exchange, unlocking immense opportunities for both our nations.
The president expressed optimism that the agreements will pave the way for increased cooperations in various sectors, ultimately benefiting both nations' economies. The MOUs also included provisions for joint efforts in peacekeeping and security, particularly in conflict-affected regions such as Somalia and South Sudan.
Discussions are at an advanced stage to finalize critical agreements in customs cooperation, security, tourism, mining, blue economy, sports development, and groundwater agreement. I trust that we shall swiftly conclude all the pending matters and have the MOUs come into force as soon as practicable. This will further reinforce our shared vision for economic transformation and sustainable development for the benefit of our peoples.
According to President Ruto, commitment to regional stability underscores the broader implications of this partnership beyond mere economic interest, as both nations will work to address the root causes of conflict and promote sustainable peace in the region.
Our continent is slowly becoming the theater of terrorism and conflict. And unless and until we have a coherent, cohesive, and well-thought-out plan on how to deal with the challenges of conflict and terrorism, our continent will continue to suffer the weight of underdevelopment, and no meaningful engagement development, trade, investment, or progress can be achieved in our continent until together we harmonize our thoughts and revamp the peace and security architecture in our continent. And the place to start is at the African Union.
President William Ruto used the engagement to campaign for Kenya's candidacy in the race to replace Musa Faki at the African Union Commission.
Kenya undertakes to work with Egypt in all the other areas that are of mutual interest. And I did inform my brother of Kenya and Kenya's nomination of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga as its candidate for the chairperson of Africa Union Commission, and continue to seek the collaboration and partnership as we have done in the past for support of our candidates.
Now to one of our top stories tonight. The Ministry of Health will re-evaluate its budget to deal with disruptions anticipated as a result of the withdrawal of aid to key health programs by the United States of America. According to Medical Services Principal Secretary Harry Kimtai, the government is ready to handle any prevailing situation to ensure that there is a flow of services. This comes as the Health Director General Dr. Patrick Amoth assured the public of buffer stock for HIV and AIDS supplies to last the country for at least 6 months.
Countries around the globe have continued to brace for tough times ahead following the recent announcement by the United States suspending support for critical health programs. In anticipation of disruptions, especially in accessing HIV and AIDS, malaria and tuberculosis commodities, Medical Services Principal Secretary Harry Kimtai says they will review the budget.
We are going to sit down with the Treasury and make sure that we continue funding support to those patients who are receiving ARVs, those patients who are on malaria treatment. The nets we must continue distributing the nets. So it's just a question of now changing or adding additional resources through the National Treasury as opposed to where we're relying on the development partners.
At the same time, the Ministry of Health Director General Dr. Patrick Amoth has assured the public that following the suspension of the U.S. President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief PEPFAR, the country has adequate strategic stocks.
That we have sufficient stocks of HIV commodities, be it antiretrovirals, be it the testing commodities. We have strengthened our supply chain pipeline in the last 1-2 years to ensure that at any given time we have more than 6 months of stock.
The Minister of Health says that some of the interventions in place to deal with anticipated disruptions include actively engaging with other development partners, international agencies and private sector stakeholders to secure alternative resources and fill the gaps in supply of essential medicine. Kenya is also emphasizing regional and global solidarity to support health financing. Other interventions include strengthening local pharmaceutical manufacturing to ensure self-sustenance. According to data from PEPFAR, as of September 2024, it supported 20.6 million people with antiretroviral drugs across 55 countries. This number includes 566,000 children. Kenya, which is largely supported by global initiatives, has 1.4 million people living with HIV and AIDS. Meanwhile, former President Uhuru Kenyatta has challenged Africa to harness the vast resources available in the continent to improve healthcare instead of depending on donor aid.
Let us be self-reliant by ensuring that we deal with the challenges that we have in order for us to be able to free resources for where they are most needed. I saw some people the other day crying, oh, I don't know, Trump has removed money. He said he's not giving us any more money. Watu wanalia. Why are you crying? It's not your government, it's not your country. He has no reason to give you anything. I mean, you don't pay taxes in America.
The former head of state made the remarks in Mombasa County when he attended the East Africa Region Global Health Security Summit. Nancy Okware, Prime Edition.
The Deputy President, Professor Kioria Kindiki, has dismissed former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and his opposition allies for their one-term presidency remarks during the launch of the new headquarters for the DAP Kenya Party on Monday. Terming the remarks as cheap threats, Professor Kindiki says the government will not dwell on populist politics, but will instead remain focused on service delivery for the people. Giverson Maina has that report.
In Karen, Nairobi, in a consultative meeting with leaders drawn from Tharaka Nithi County.
So usitutishe ati rais a one-term president. And pia watu wengine wanatutisha huko jana.
Deputy President Professor Kioria Kindiki fired back at his predecessor Rigathi Gachagua for claiming the Kenya Kwanza administration will be a one-term government.
President Ruto is lucky to be among the 5 Kenyans who have occupied the seat of President of Kenya. Some, 24 years. Others, 10 years. If he gets 5, so be it.
He said Gachagua boycotted his duties in the past 2 years and now had resorted to inciting the public after his removal from office.
There was somebody in this office. Today he's not here. Now he's giving us ultimatum from funerals. How he will make William Ruto a one-term president, as if that is an achievement.
Professor Kindiki is saying the government will not be swayed to backtrack on his programs by threats of political consequences.
William Ruto's objective is not to serve for 2 terms. It is to use the time that God will give him in office to bring transformative programs in 1, 2, 3 areas and then leave.
Throwing a jab at Wiper Democratic Movement leader Kalonzo Musyoka, Professor Kindiki said he should also tell Kenyans what he accomplished when he served as Kenya's vice president.
Si Kalonzo Musyoka alikuwa vice president? Si ni kama mimi? Yeye alikuwa 5 years under Kibaki. So akifika pale Tharaka Nithi, the people will ask him, when you were vice president, can you give us one project hapa ile ulitusukumia?
Seemingly taking a swipe at Public Service Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi, the Deputy President said government officials flying flags should quit fast and join the opposition before criticizing the government.
But you cannot be a Deputy President and sabotaging the same government, or a minister flying a flag and then you are sabotaging the same administration. Not possible.
Professor Kindiki vowed to revive all stalled government projects across the country to make true their promises to Kenyans before the 2027 general elections. Giverson Maina, Prime Edition.
Sarah Wairimu, the widow of the late Dutch tycoon Tob Cohen, has pleaded not guilty to the murder of her late husband. The Directorate of Public Prosecution, Renson Mulele, or the Director of Public Prosecution, Renson Mulele, preferred a fresh murder charge on her last week after finding new evidence linking her to the offence. Sarah, who has been in custody since last Friday, suffered another setback in her quest to secure freedom as she was denied bail and thus will continue cooling her feet at Langata Women's Prison until Monday, the 3rd of February.
Wednesday at Kibera High Court, Sarah Cohen was presented in court after spending 5 days in custody. The DPP and the DCI were combing investigations, including having Wairimu assessed mentally before pleading to the murder charge. Lady Justice Diana Kavesa was informed that she was mentally fit to stand trial. However, through her lawyer, Wairimu opposed taking a plea. The judge will then adjourn to go and look at the medical records before making a ruling in the afternoon.
Both parties can undertake to submit it at any time for the court's reference, but we request that the court allows that the accused person takes the plea and using the words of the court, forthwith.
And when she walked inside the courtroom, Wairimu was ordered to take a plea.
Within Nairobi County, in the Republic of Kenya, jointly with others not before court murdered Top Chichu Cohen. Is it true or not true? Definitely not true.
Wairimu is accused of killing Cohen in 2019 and had previously been charged with the same offense before it was terminated in November 2022. For lack of sufficient evidence, we remain at Langata Women's Prison until Monday next week, awaiting bail ruling.
On 3rd of February at 11. Civil cases are confrontational. That is why we do physical attendances. So please pardon us for that.
The late Cohen's body was discovered in a septic tank at his Kitusuru home in July 2019. Elsewhere, the DPP is facing heavy criticism for delaying the prosecution of 11 senior police officers accused of murdering baby Samantha Pendo.
It is better to even allow 10 men to go scot-free than to incarcerate wrongfully an innocent suspect.
When the matter came up for mentioning, the newly transferred judge to Milimani High Court, Margaret Muigai, who has been assigned the case, was informed by the victims' lawyers that over the 7-year journey which should kick off by the officers taking plea.
People are taking plea in the absence of others. They are charged with others not before court. But in this particular case, the absence of another becomes a ground to seek an adjournment.
They dismissed the DPP's argument that the absence of one suspect, Mohamed Ba, should delay the indictment of the remaining 10 officers.
Tomorrow in the afternoon, at about 3, I think I'll be able to deliver what I think will be the direction to the matter.
Baby Pendo died after being hit by anti-riot police officers who are pursuing protesters in their home. With the Director of Public Prosecution asking for more time in Baby Pendo's case, the victims' lawyers have vehemently opposed the application, stating that justice delayed is justice denied. Reporting from Milimani's High Court, I'm Ruth Wambui.
Some sad story here. 2 children died in Lambwe Central, Suba North, Homa Bay County after a fire raised their house in what authorities suspect to be an arson attack. The victims, aged 3 and 5, were trapped inside their homes when the fire erupted. It is believed that their parents were not present at the time of the incident, as Timothy Kipnusu now reports.
Residents from Lambwe Central, Suba North, Homa Bay County are still coming to terms with the death of 2 children in a house fire. Efforts by neighbors to save the children were futile as the flames quickly consumed the house. Preliminary findings indicate that the inferno was intentionally set, with witnesses saying a suspect was seen fleeing the scene.
When I came, I found the house. The house was blazing all over, and the children were nowhere to be seen.
Local leaders have condemned the incident and urged security agencies to intensify surveillance to prevent similar occurrences in the future.
If there is an issue or a dispute, don't solve the dispute by maybe involving yourself in an unlawful act. Kindly be reporting the issues that are affecting you to the government, to the authorities concerned.
Elsewhere, firefighters and emergency response personnel from 3 North Rift counties on Wednesday converged to help put out a fire at the busy Kitale Lane Moja Street in Trans Nzoia County. The fire reportedly started early morning on a 1-story business premise in Kitale that houses a hardware shop. It then spread into a huge fire that raged for hours before the firefighters were able to contain it.
Jirani iko hapa ambaye ni Wasingishu na pia West Pokot. Tafadhali hii ni janga ambalo wangetukua umetusukumia mzima moto tuipeze kusaidia kuzima moto.
Lakini ilishindikana mpaka saa hii ndio unavyoona pale bado moshi inaendelea kutoka. Wanajaribu kwa udi na uvumba ili wazime.
Sisi kama Chambers of Commerce Trans Nzoia tunasukunika kwa sababu number 1 tumepoteza kazi ya wale watu ambao wamekuwa wameajiriwa hapo.
In Kakamega County, police are investigating a case in which the body of an unidentified middle-aged man was found hanging from a rock in Iseko River. According to residents led by Nyumba Kumi member Hussein Alusa, the deceased may have been killed elsewhere.
Onyo letu kwa raia kwa sababu msimu wa mvua umeanza na pia hiyo mto sasa inaanza kugaza a lot of water. Tunaonya watu wenye wanaishi karibu na mtoni wawe careful na activities karibu na mtoni.
And more than 3,500 Larry Nyakinywa Solai shareholders members in Kiambu County are celebrating the recovery of their 800 acres of land at Olujurai Farm that was allegedly grabbed 40 years ago.
Tunaenda kwa shamba yetu ile ambaye tulinunua miaka zaidi ya miaka 43, na sasa imefika siku muhimu sana ya kwenda kuonyesha wale watu walikuwa nasubua sisi ati sisi ndio wenyewe, ndio tumeenda tukiwa wengi sana.
They are calling on security agencies to help evict grabbers to allow land surveyors to demarcate the parcel of land.
Biangu kwa serikali ni kusema ya kwamba kwa vile wametupatia samba, hata ulisi watupatie zaidi na watuondolee wale wanasema samba ni yao, kwa maana hao sio yao.
Timothy Kipnusu, or Prime Edition.
Well, it's time for us to take our first breath on Prime Edition. Don't go too far. We're coming back with more news, including business and sports.
Shilingi 1,000. Toka kwa hiyo sanduku. Stoki. Oh. Kizongwe mkungi. Rudisha hiyo pesa kwa sanduku namba 10.
Ongeza ifike 50.
Kwa nini? Nataka ukule popcorn ukitizama runinga, sawa? 100,000 Kenya shillings. Inch TV. 1,000 Kenya shillings. Yes!
I need to give you an apology.
Apologize, of course you should. We've married for years and you never apologized. Make it formal.
Look at your hand. It doesn't look like a working hand. How pale and soft it is.
Yes.
What moisturizer do you use?
Single once again. Don't I have to celebrate, huh?
I want you to feel I'm different from usual.
Welcome back. You're watching the Prime Edition. Let's travel kilometers away to the city of Goma in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And the escalating conflict in that city, that is in the eastern of DRC, could adversely affect Kenya's economy if not quickly resolved. Speaking in a phone interview with the KBC TV News Desk, foreign policy analyst Gordon Kechola cautioned that the Kenya's resources could be further stretched by an upsurge in refugees flocking the country from DRC. This even as M23 rebels continued to battle DRC troops in Goma for the third day in a row.
More than 72 hours, Goma city in eastern DRC has witnessed fierce battles between M23 rebels and the DRC army and its allies. The clashes, which have left hundreds injured, did not come as a surprise, with analysts citing DRC's government's inability to solely contain the rebels.
Then we saw when the East African Standby Force went to DRC, they were asked by DRC to leave. Kenya went there. Kenya was asked to leave the forces. The preceding events clearly indicated that there is a rift, a gap that is being created between the government and the rebels, and one, either of the side, was to take charge. It's unfortunate that the rebels took charge before the government did.
According to foreign policy analyst Gordon Kachola, the nation has every reason to worry about the escalating tension in the DRC since Kenyans have invested heavily in the country, especially in trade and financial sectors.
It should worry any Kenyan that, well, our people who are in DRC are at risk. But that aside, when there's a conflict, we've had conflicts within East African community. And whenever there is a conflict, you will always see influx of refugees. Some of these refugees will not just go to the neighboring Uganda and Rwanda. Some of them will come over to Kenya.
Clashes in DRC between M23 rebels and the army and its allies have left hospitals overwhelmed by casualties and bodies on the streets. According to the UN, essential services have been unavailable since the offensive began, with electricity, water and internet cut. On Wednesday, M23 rebels tightened their grip on Goma City, with local media reporting that while fighting appears to have eased in most parts of Goma, sporadic gunfire continued in northern areas. This was as hundreds of Romanian mercenaries hired to fight for Congo entered Rwanda under the strict supervision of Rwanda security forces. With President William Ruto expected to convene crisis talks aimed at ending the rebels' assault, analysts say the onus is on the DRC government to set the tone for an amicable solution to the crisis. Joseph Wahungu for Prime Edition.
And the gravity of that situation can only be understood from that act of surrendering by Romanian mercenaries, who most of the times are patrolling the streets of Goma City, and surrendering to the Rwandan forces is quite a significant move. There's still no light just yet whether President William Ruto has convened that extraordinary meeting with the regional heads of state in the East African community as the chairperson. But as of this afternoon, the president of the DRC, that is Felix Tshisekedi Tshilombo, had already indicated that the meeting clashes with his diary and therefore will not be able to make it to the meeting. We move this forward. Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Cabinet Secretary Hassan Joho has instructed security officers from Vihiga County to mop out all illegal gold mines in the region and have them closed down immediately. Joho says that the government is losing a lot of revenue from mining companies that get away with illegal mining. There's another stories in our county news wrap.
Speaking during the signing of a memorandum of understanding between the ministry, Vihiga County government and the Norwegian Agency for Development, Joho said the law must be followed in the exploration of natural resources.
It should not take me to come from Nairobi to pursue illegal mining activities in Vihiga.
Elsewhere, Kenyan farmers have been challenged to embrace climate-smart agriculture to boost food production in the country.
Increase irrigation water storage holding capacity to 25.5 million cubic meters by 2024, achieve at least 150% utilization in each of the irrigation schemes, and also embrace emerging technologies in irrigation.
Meanwhile, the increased emergency of the Kuwait-based African Muslim agency schools have sparked fierce opposition among the Muslim parents and professionals in Kenya.
Mara nyingi unaenda huko kama wewe ni muombaji na ilhali wewe unalipa fees katika hiyo shule. Hii shule yetu ya Lidaya hatutaki iwe katika hiyo hali. Tusiwe tunapatia iwe private.
And humanitarian groups are urging the government to prioritize orphan students in the distribution of bursaries.
Kenya ningewaomba na ningewasihi katika jina la Bwana ya kwamba mkuwe watu wa kujitolea, ni kwa maana ni jukumu Bwana ameweka kwa kila mmoja ya kwamba akasaidie mwingine.
In Naivasha, Nakuru County, the Pastoralist Parliamentary Group has rejected a decision by Cabinet to dissolve the National Council for Nomadic Education in Kenya.
There was lack of public participation and stakeholder engagement in the decision-making process. NACONEC's mandate is deeply intertwined with stakeholders, including county governments, local communities, and international partners.
Finally, women and youth in the country are set to benefit from various enhanced services, including maternal health care offered by a local non-governmental organization, Ushiriki Wema, in collaboration with other like-minded organizations.
Give out this information, especially what the bank is offering for the women in business, the youth in business, because that's where we are focusing on as well, is to develop businesses for the women and the youth, and enrich them with information that can make their businesses better.
Allow them leverage on our platforms to reach their customers. This is because we have a wide network of platforms from our 57 Huduma centers across the country.
Opito Chemtai for Prime Edition.
Now, Ketable Music has injected life into the 1960s music scene through a new stage drama production, African Twist. The play, written by Paul Kelemba, alias Mado, and directed by Martin Kigondu, transports Kenyans down memory lane to the country's early independence days, as reviewed by Jacqueline Masharia in the segment Cinemas and Theatre.
Ketable Music's African Twist brings to life the stories of 4 legendary musicians who played a pivotal role in shaping Kenya's post-independence music scene. Directed by Martin Kigondu, the play combines compelling storytelling with music, immersing audiences in the vibrant soundscape of 1960s Kenya. Set against the backdrop of a newly independent nation, it explores how the political and social climate influenced the country's flourishing music industry.
The swinging 60s would continue to be a mixed bag for the young nation. It's a time where Kenya's GDP is said to have been set at the heights of Singapore. And somehow the lights, the hopes, and the people's energy somehow still shone bright, despite the drama and assassination happening at the top.
Ketable Music are not a playhouse. They don't stage plays. They do documentaries on the history of Kenyan music. They also have a library on the history of Kenyan music. So they publish different books on the different 10 years. Every 10 years they are sort of saying this is the benga type of music that was done then, this is music from the 90s, etc, etc. So after conversations with them, I understood that Paul Kelemba, who is the writer, aka Mado, had been wanting to, first of all, he thought of a movie, but then that seemed a little too tedious, so he thought of putting a play.
At the heart of the production is the story of Daudi Kabaka, a man who left his steady job in 1959 to pursue his passion for music. Kabaka joined Equator Sound Studios, where he quickly became part of the iconic Equator Sound Band. Here, he formed lifelong friendships with fellow musicians such as Fadhili Williams, Gabriel Omolo, George Agade, David Amunga, and Peter Tsotsi. African Twist takes audiences on a musical journey through their careers, revisiting the songs that defined their legacies and delving into the creative process behind their groundbreaking records at Equator Sound Studios under the guidance of legendary producer Charles Warroad.
The whole idea of Ketable is not only documenting but also celebrating the history of Kenyan music. A lot of people are clueless, on basic facts such as the song Malaika, a lot of people would attribute it to Tanzania, yet it has nothing to do with them. Yeah, so we get this chance to tell people, oh, this is how it happened. This is actually, more of the true story around this. And there are so many stories that we don't know about Kenyan music. And so I feel, this is a good time to start doing that, especially when you realize that music and revolution or music and culture shifting are super attached.
The play director notes that the cast, composed of young Kenyan actors, has embraced the opportunity to connect with a rich and important piece of their country's history. By bringing these stories to life, they offer new generations a chance to engage with the music that shaped Kenya's social and cultural landscape.
Throughout last year, into this year as well, I'll be doing a lot of workshops. Last year I did a lot of workshops, and my target audience, quote unquote, are these young upcoming stars. You don't have to be known that much. The thing about acting is you need to be sharpening your tool constantly. So most of them, I've seen them around either on stage or in the workshops that I've had, meaning I've seen their range and all. Now, fast forward to us putting out a call for the auditions. When the auditions were put out, of course, these young people would be the ones who are coming, because even age-wise, we're very particular. We started with dialogue and understanding of what they're doing. I break it all down in my different sessions. Then, as soon as we sort of understood the plot and the growth of these different characters, we got into the music. Then, last but not least, we ended up doing the dance.
The play features some of the most iconic songs, including Daudi Kabaka's Harambe Harambe, and Fadhili Williams' timeless Malaika. Both of these songs, released by Equator Records, have endured as cultural touchstones for more than 6 decades. They continue to resonate with audiences both in their original versions and through numerous cover renditions, proving the lasting power of Kenya's musical heritage. Jacqueline Masharia for Cinemas and Theatre.
To give you an apology.
Apologize, of course you should. We've married for years and you never apologize. Make it formal.
Look at your hand. It doesn't look like a working hand. How pale and soft it is.
Yes.
What moisturizer do you use?
Single once again. Don't I have to celebrate, huh?
Want you to feel I'm different from usual?
Shilingi 1000. Toka kwa hiyo sanduku. Stoki. Oh. Kizongwe mkungi. Rudisha hiyo pesa kwa sanduku namba 10.
Ongeza ifike 50.
Kwa nini? Anataka ukule popcorn ukitizama runinga, sawa? 100,000 Kenya shillings. Inch TV. Thousand Kenya shillings. Yes.
You almost messed up. You need to tell me the truth.
I did help your dad find the guy.
And?
Then your dad did the rest.
Alex, you're a pathological liar.
The earlier you tell her, the better.
Don't tell her anything.
Nili notice anategea hizo pesa zako za insurance.
Joshua si mtu mzuri.
I have to give it to you. I'm not sure whether you're not greedy or you're just not ambitious.
Mind your business. Kama niga nilipatikana asili ulitumia.
Ilitoka wapi?
Hebu ambie kuhusu ile gani yenye ulinunua after Jabali ameatakiwa.
What?
Time for us now to turn our eyes to the world of business. And Wairimu Ajega is here with us.
Indeed. And tonight is all about new emerging technologies and how we can leverage on private sector equity to develop AI infrastructure. And we get right into it. And the private sector has been encouraged to increase investments in the artificial intelligence space to tap its economic potential. Information, Communication and the Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary William Kabogo says Kenya will leverage on the private sector to develop AI infrastructure in a bid to cement Kenya's position as a regional digital hub.
The market for artificial intelligence grew beyond $184 billion in 2024. The US is injecting a further $500 billion in private sector equity to create infrastructure for artificial intelligence to catalyze growth in the sector. The Kenyan private sector has been encouraged to increase investments into the AI space to tap into the global expansion and potential. Information, Communication and the Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary William Kabogo says the government will tap into the private sector equity to develop an AI infrastructure to assist local digital startups enhance their capabilities and compete globally.
Africa has been marginalized in global AI discussions, often viewed as a passive consumer rather than an active contributor. This narrative must change. We must invest in our own AI capabilities, enabling us to develop solutions tailored to our unique context and challenges.
Everything we are doing on AI in Kenya is about partnership and collaboration. AI presents similar challenges to governments and societies around the world, and by working together we can also maximize the opportunities that it can bring.
Plans are also underway to start training civil servants on artificial intelligence as part of digitizing government services.
Today we have the opportunity to engage in meaningful dialogue, exchange ideas, and challenge one another as we explore AI's potential to become a powerful tool for socio-economic and political transformation.
Kenya will leverage on the African Union AI Charter to enhance cybersecurity and responsible online use to protect online consumers from exploitation.
We remain steadfast in championing continental cooperation in an inclusive and collaborative manner, ensuring that AI serves the public good, it amplifies our shared values and benefits all of humanity.
Let us seize this opportunity to shape the future of AI in a way that reflects our values, protects our rights, and unlocks the vast potential of our continent.
Benson Trioba, reporting for Prime Edition.
3 counties are currently battling a foot and mouth disease outbreak, with Kakamega County being the latest to have the disease diagnosed, in addition to Trans Nzoia and West Pokot counties. The government has invoked control measures, including quarantine and vaccination in the affected areas.
There's a foot and mouth disease outbreak in Kakamega, West Pokot and Trans Nzoia counties. Government spokesperson Isaac Maure detailed the latest outbreak in Kakamega was diagnosed clinically and is awaiting laboratory confirmation.
A quarantine has consequently been imposed on the movement of the animals in the affected areas to prevent further spread of the disease.
Early in November 2024, the outbreak was reported in Trans Nzoia in Cherangani, Kimimini, Soboti and Endebess sub-counties. It was later reported in Chiporaira area of West Pokot County in January 2025, prompting action from the national government by invoking control measures.
In Kakamega County, 2,500 heads of cattle, 200 sheep and goats and 19 pigs have been vaccinated, while the veterinary department in Trans Nzoia County has received 4,000 doses of the FMD vaccine
and plus roll out the vaccination in due course, even as farmers are being encouraged to also continue vaccinating their flocks.
The foot and mouth disease is a highly contagious viral infection causing substantial losses in milk production, reproduction and growth, while Pesticides ruminants affect sheep and goats, with infection rates running up to 90%, with mortality rates of up to 70%. Yusufar reporting for Prime Edition.
Now, the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner has so far received over 6,000 complaints related to potential data breaches. Now, speaking during an ongoing data protection conference in Eldoret, Data Commissioner Immaculate Kasait noted that the Commission has resolved and determined over 100 cases, accounting for approximately 1.67% of the reported complaints, and fined over 20 companies. Here's that story.
Kenyans have been using social media platforms to eke a living through content creation and brand endorsement. There have been complaints over the fairness of the revenue-sharing algorithms applied by big tech firms for the African region.
We have an office hours, which is virtual and bi-weekly, and that focuses on safety on the platform and best practice. There is no stumbling block. It's something that we're exploring in other markets to develop and find out the best way that it can work, and then we're looking at it. But it's something that we definitely want to do. So in the meantime, what we try to do is focus on the things that we are doing at the moment, which is definitely very, very, very beneficial. And then over and above that, as we discussed earlier, if we think about our partnership with Wowsy, where we're doing a lot for creators, we're connecting them with the brands.
In terms of policy, players like TikTok say Kenya has a robust policy framework for self-regulation to protect users from harmful content.
The platform itself is completely compliant, as we are in all of the territories, which is why we're able to be here today. So that's an ongoing journey, and we'll always be compliant whatever the local rules and regulations are to operate in the market.
In terms of policy, players like TikTok say Kenya has a robust policy framework for partnership in Kenya with Aleph Holdings and Wowsy, which will see Kenyan creators and businesses use the platform to advertise goods and services for increased sales.
It's helping businesses to connect with their audiences on the platform. So the platform is founded on community, and the platform itself, which is TikTok for Business, enables those connections.
Alanako, Prime Edition.
Well, that story is on social media platform TikTok, targeting businesses to take advantage of the high traffic on the platform to increase their visibility. Now we come back to the story on cybersecurity and what the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner is talking about. And so far it has received over 6,000 complaints related to potential data breaches. Now, speaking during an ongoing data protection conference in Eldoret, Data Commissioner Immaculate Kasait noted that the Commission has resolved and determined over 100 cases, accounting for approximately 1.67% of the reported complaints, and fined over 20 companies. Now, here's that story. The rapid expansion of digital infrastructure across Kenya has heightened the need for stronger data privacy measures. Since the establishment of the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner under the Data Protection Act 2019, the government has been working to bolster digital trust and safeguard citizens' data rights. Data Commissioner Immaculate Kasait underscored the obligation of multinationals, local firms and organizations to secure personal data, whether collected physically or electronically.
Any personal data that anyone collects has to make sure that it is secure, and we have to make sure that it adheres to the principles in the Data Protection Act. So we as an office, our work is to make sure that data controllers adhere to those principles at any given time.
Data is currency, okay? And when we start to understand the importance of currency, the way you protect your money, you need to be protecting your data, right? And that starts with an individual awareness, individual practice, that you can't just be giving away information that is your information without really understanding how it's going to be stored, how is it going to be secured.
She noted that over 8,000 data controllers and processors have registered with the Commission, with new regulations being drafted to impose stricter oversight over data handlers. The commissioner highlighted that her office has received more than 6,000 complaints and has fined over 20 companies for breaches.
And when they don't adhere to them, the members of the public are free to file complaints to our office. And as an office, we undertake investigation, we undertake audits, we undertake inspection. And once we find anyone culpable, we then go ahead and either fine or give a penalty notice.
For repeat offenders, she warned licenses may be revoked. Kasait further emphasized the need for stakeholder collaboration to address challenges posed by emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence. Sector-specific guidelines are being developed to ensure ethical data usage. Now, young women entrepreneurs in the country are leveraging online marketing strategies to market their products both locally and internationally. Now, through a setup dubbed Dada Soko e-commerce platform, the women will benefit from training on how to integrate digital and financial tools to effectively compete in the market space.
In Kenya, women face several challenges in the marketplace, including limited access to finance, gender bias in business dealings, cultural expectations that restrict their economic participation, lack of business skills training, difficulty balancing family responsibilities with work, among others. In order to bridge this gap, beneficiaries of the platform will acquire skills in brand building and management from experts within various fields of business.
Normally go from county to another. We do the educational forums, we do the seminars, and again, we also bring in professional people in that sector so that they can improve the ladies when it comes to legal, financial, or even when it comes to health sectors.
And I encourage more ladies, more women, young ladies, the Gen Zs who are coming up, that they should get into this platform so that they can market themselves, they can know better and do better in their businesses.
Additionally, the government has been tasked to support and strengthen existing organizations that prioritize women's needs, such as the Kenya Women's Finance Trust, through funds that can be availed to the women entrepreneurs.
We are connecting the women from once they have brought up, they bred their livestock, they have somewhere to sell their livestock, and also they have a place that they can connect with the suppliers of food, of the feeds, of the medication used, and of such kind of services that they will need along the way.
Nduta Mukami for Prime Edition.
That story by Nduta Mukami brings to a close business news for tonight. JJ Kioria is up next with the day's sports. My name is Wairi Mujenga. Have a good night. See you tomorrow.
I need to give you an apology.
Apologize, of course you should. We've married for years and you never apologized. Make it formal.
Look at your hand. It doesn't look like a working hand. How pale and soft it is.
Yes.
What moisturizer do you use?
Single once again. Don't I have to celebrate, huh?
I want you to feel I'm different from usual.
Welcome back. It's time for sports. The Confederation of African Football Executive Committee has set new dates for the 2024 Total Energies CAF African Nations Championship. The 2024 CHAN will be co-hosted by Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda and will kick off from the 2nd to 30th of August this year.
The Africa Nations Championship was scheduled to take place from 1st to 20th of February this year, but CAF postponed it to the 2nd to 30th of August to ensure infrastructure facilities were in requisite standards to co-host the championship in Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania. The draw was nevertheless conducted at the KICC in Nairobi, where Kenya was placed in Group A with 2 times champions Morocco, Angola, DR Congo and Zambia. The CAF Executive Committee, chaired by the President Dr. Patrice Motsepe, also approved the match calendar for the 2025 African Cup of Nations, which is scheduled to take place from 21st of December to 18th of January 2026 in 6 cities in Morocco, namely Rabat, Casablanca, Agadir, Marrakesh, Fez and Tajia. The 2025 CAF Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers format has also been revised from 12 to 16 participating teams.
Athletes have been called upon to break the silence and fight for their rights as they pursue their dreams during the National Olympics Committee of Kenya 2 days gender conference concluded today in Nairobi.
Conference has seen different sportsmen and women who made it into their career raise concerns about alarming issues that affect them so that they can help others find a common ground to solve them.
Even as an athlete, what is it that you want? Do you want to have many world records? Do you want to win the Olympics? Do you want to, develop sports in communities? What is that? Articulate that, right? And then it's a point of then how do you, what's the best place of putting it there?
Today's dialogue was led by 2 times Boston Marathon champion Ellen Obiri, who narrated how they persevered in their chase for glory, adding that they should be supported in every step, regardless of the result.
Sometimes it's a challenge to wake up in the morning like 5, uko kwa barabara, kuna vumbi, unakaa ile maisha tunasema si yako. But it's good, kukaa ile maisha si yako right now. At the end of your career, enjoy, you will go along the world.
Obiri was also concerned about the rising cases of gender-based violence being witnessed in the sports and called for the athletes' protection.
Life of sports, it's all about business. Because if not so business, we could not be where we are today. So it's all about business, and you see like which company it has the best offer for you. And
as the conference came to an end today, federation representatives were mandated to offer various life skills to their members to empower them. For Prime Edition Sports, I'm Daniel Mwendwa.
Tusker FC and Harambee Stars forward Ryan Ugam has been named the LG Sports Journalists Association of Kenya Sports Personality for the month of December 2024. The 20-year-old is the FKF Premier League's leading top scorer in his first season, where he has scored 13 times to contribute more than half of his team's 23 goals. In December, he scored 6 goals to propel the former league champions to the second place in the 18-team league. Those achievements saw Ugam edge out double Olympic champion Beatrice Chebet, who broke the world a 5-kilometer record on the 31st of December in Barcelona. Others who had been nominated for the award include Makueni women representative Rose Museo, who won the East Africa Interparliamentary Games for Persons with Disabilities darts title in Mombasa and Nairobi City. Thunder's duo of Garang Ding and Albert Adera, who guided the team to qualify for their first ever Africa Basketball Leagues.
Ni moral kwangu, at least unaona kuna watu na acknowledge Wakenya na Putin, so inanitel nafaa kuendelea ku put in the work, then reward itakuja tu.
The professional golfers of Kenya, PGK, have received 240,000 shilling sponsorship boost from Kenya's leading sports agency, IMG Kenya. The funds will support the PGK's organization of qualifiers for the 2025 Magical Kenya Open to help ease participation costs for players and allow them to focus on their performance. In the absence of any other official qualifier, the PGK has arranged a 72-hole qualifier at Muthaiga Golf Club. The first leg of a 2-part tournament began yesterday at the Par 72 Muthaiga course. The second leg was taking place this Thursday and Friday at Sigona Golf Club, also a Par 72 course. The top 8 Kenya professional golfers will secure spots in the DP World Tour event scheduled for the Muthaiga Championship course from the 20th and 23rd of next month. And of course, tonight is packed with a lot of action for the Champions League. UEFA Champions League phase concludes tonight. And of course, before the progression, there are so many matches lined up for you tonight. Be sure to catch up that action. We'll be updating you of the results tomorrow. That is, if you're not able to catch the action tonight. But for now, we want to put a cap on Prime Edition. Thank you very much for joining us. Anne Wangeshi was the sign language interpreter. My name is John Jacob Kioria. Have yourself a good night and God bless you.
Shilingi 1000. Toka kwa hiyo sanduku. Stoki. Kesho yangu mkungi.